When we think of stunning stations, King's Cross and St Pancras come to mind. But in the north, the humble city of Huddersfield can easily boast the most stunning station. Considering its beauty and its grandeur, it was a miracle the station was ever created at all. The Manchester and Leeds Railway set the precedent of the railways of the north by crossing from Yorkshire into the Pennines in 1841. Crossing the Pennines was a challenge. Commonly described as the UK's backbone, the Pennines feature a mix of wet lowlands, limestone hills, and a large network cave system across its hilly terrain. For anyone trying to cross it, the Pennines presented a huge headache. The Manchester and Leeds Railway got to Littleborough and needed to get to the town of Todmorden and Hebden Bridge so they could connect to the North Midland Railway. Rather than going over the 1.6 mile stretch of the Pennines, the railway built one of the oldest railway tunnels in use today, the Summit Tunnel. The link up with the North Midland Railway gave passengers a major link to Leeds via Normanton, bypassing major cities such as Bradford, Halifax and Huddersfield, meaning that for those in Huddersfield, it would be a lengthy walk to the nearest station on the outskirts of the town. As the town of Huddersfield grew, the locals, fed up with the commute, put pressure on the Manchester and Leeds Railway to build a railway directly into the town, which would be connected to other railway links. But the Manchester and Leeds Railway was sceptical that it would be profitable, and proposed a low-cost, cheaper alternative at the lower end of the town. The locals met with the directors, advising their displeasure, but the directors stood firm. They were determined to have the station terminus away from the town. The meeting did not end well, with both locals and directors quite literally screaming at each other, and the directors declaring that Huddersfield wasn't even worth stopping the engine for. The Manchester and Leeds Railway would ultimately regret their decision when they attempted to purchase the Huddersfield Narrow Canal. Instead, the canal was sold to the Huddersfield and Manchester Railway Company. The company was committed into giving the town what the Leeds and Manchester Railway would not, a sustainable line. Even though the purchase of the canal company and the proposal of the new line was promising, the town's elite and wealthy were still smarting from the meeting and decided to take matters into their own hands. They created a railway company of their very own. In 1845, the Huddersfield and Sheffield Junction Railway was given parliamentary assent. The route would include 3 new viaducts and would link Huddersfield to Sheffield via Penistone. The two companies met on a regular basis, and after several meetings it was decided that both companies would share equal ownership of the new Huddersfield line and soon-to-be railway station, and that the railway station would involve both companies equally. In the days of the railway boom and huge competition, a partnership like this was highly unusual. In 1846, to much jubilation and fanfare, the first foundation stone for the new station was laid. The station was to be built on a scale that no one had ever seen before, with not one but 2 railway backers. No expense would be spared. The job of the new station design was left to architect J.B. Pritchett, who instructed builder Joseph Kay to carry out the task. Pritchett saw the building as his mark on the world, and that the work done there would be the best record of his name. By the time the station was complete in 1850, the 2 railways had merged into larger companies, with one becoming part of the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway and the other becoming part of the London and North Western Railway. It was agreed by the 2 railways that the partnership would continue, with the London and North Western Railway occupying the eastern end of the station and the Yorkshire and Lancashire occupying the west. Even though the building was stunning, the state of the public accommodation led to many complaints. The town council tried to improve the facilities and the Chamber of Commerce got involved, but it was after the government inspectors came that the situation improved. It was improved further when the London and North Western Railway doubled its railway lines and capacity and added an island platform with subway and a new roof to cover everything up. The roof, while keeping passengers dry, did cause a bigger problem. The smoke and the soot, while unseen, set by the masses, settled on the building itself, causing the building to become soot-encrusted and grimy. Over the many years, the once proud building was now disregarded and just seen as just another terminus. The only unusual feature about the station was the approach via the easterly viaduct and the westerly tunnel. The 45-arch viaduct sat and straddled across mainly derelict land, while the tunnel on the west caused much more damage to a building, a theatre, and even the destruction of Temple Street. The station, however, was not without incident. It was put at risk twice when two fires threatened to engulf it. The first fire, on the 3rd of April 1867, was discovered in the Yorkshire and Lancashire warehouse near to the station. The fire was so fierce that railway trucks over 20 yards away burst into flames, and sparks were carried into the street, setting fire to surrounding buildings. Luckily, the fire left the main building unscathed, but just over a year later, the rebuilt warehouse also caught fire. The cause of the blaze was attributed to some wool and tinder that had been left under a skylight, and the heat had caused the tinder to burn. Again, the warehouse was burnt to the ground, but the building still remained standing. The same could not be said for the roof, where upon its construction, part of it fell, killing 4 people. Years passed, and the station survived 2 world wars, and by the 1960s, it was just considered just another old station on the network. The statue of Robert Peale, erected upon the station's completion, had been removed. The place was run down, and the square outside the station, which had seen many a public gathering, was just another place with little features. It wasn't until John Bateman visited the station and was astounded by what he saw. John was the founding member of the Victorian Society, a society set up especially to help protect Victorian buildings and architecture. John was gobsmacked. He called the station frontage as the most splendid example in Europe, turning many historian heads. Years of soot was washed away, revealing the stunning work and architecture underneath, and quickly the station was reported to be one of the best in the country. Today the station is a Grade 1 protected building and is considered to be a rare survivor. Where Robert Peale once stood stands a statue of Harold Wilson, Huddersfield's own son. The station is in the safe hands of the Huddersfield Corporation and has, in the last 30 years, spent millions on restoring it to its former glory with a bit of a modern flair. The 2 waiting rooms were changed into 2 smart pubs, and the square is revamped with new fountains and new paving. The square and the station are a sight for the people of the town to be proud of. Although many doubted having a station would be a success, it has come through regardless. I hope one day to visit this impressive station and to have a look at what they may have said is the Diamond of the North.